Can you explain the difference between physical and physiological dependence on sugar?
Yeah, no. So the beginning, you have to think about this as a nicotine habit. Like withdrawals are not that hard.
Mhm.
They're doable. You can do them physiologically, or biochemically. It's not that difficult, except because it's always there and nobody's thinking about it, you kind of fall back. But mentally and emotionally, I really believe, and this is where sugar gets no respect. People in the, what do you call it, the emotional eating world, they got part of the puzzle right. The emotional eating, the comfort food, that kind of stuff, they've got part of the puzzle right. But they believe that you can eat a little bit of sugar. And even the eating disorder folks say that all foods fit, that you should be able to eat a little sugar and flour or you are not well. You're not graduating. And that's just wrong. And, in my experience and with, my contemporaries, that there is a biochemical connection and that literally it shrinks your brain, it puts holes in your brain, it takes over, hijacks the frontal cortex, the limbic brain, and it's just a real, I don't, can I swear on this? It's a real son of a bitch. It's a real difficult thing that people are just now. It's like when cigarettes were, the science finally said, this is bad. But the problem is the general public hasn't caught up with it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because it's everywhere. And I think that people don't see this as a killer. They don't see it as affecting your moods, like what you said before, alcohol or any of these kind of drugs, or things you can get addicted to. And I think, I mean, I'm just using common sense here, but I think that people assume that unless you are overweight or someone who is like an emotional eater or has an eating disorder,
Right.
that's when you can associate that this person might have a sugar addiction or a food addiction. It might not be associated with the average person who is eating a lot of sugar. So let's start by just defining what is sugar addiction. How do you define it for the person listening, that they can understand? Oh, maybe this is me, or it's not me.
I mean, it really, all of the categories of the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, they all fit the tolerance, the sneaking, the hiding, the adverse consequences, the denial. All of these things fit in the same. Uh, you know, 20% of the people that call me are crying. That they're not. They don't really. They think that they're alone in this, like that they're the only people in the world that are throwing stuff in the garbage and then pulling it out of the garbage and lying and sneaking and hiding that behavior, right? And so the answer
So
to
this
your
would be considered an eating disorder then, right? Because isn't that an eating disorder?
so this is a very nuanced and important. It's a great question. It's a very important and nuanced distinction. Answer basically to your question is no. This is an addiction. Okay. An eating disorder, again, as I talk about the if you go in for binge eating or you go in for bulimia, you are not well considered not well if you can't moderate sugar. I used to be the chairman of the board of the Food Addiction Institute, and there is science, all kinds of science and all kinds of life experiences that biochemically about a third of people cannot eat sugar without setting up cravings for more sugar.
Hmm.
And so it's, yes, you've got to, well, you've got to get biochemical repair of the brain first and as primary, as opposed to a behavioral belief that you can eat and moderate sugar. And moderation, like 100% abstinence is like 100 times easier than 90% abstinence. That little bit, that 10%, just like an alcoholic can't have a beer on Fridays and they can't have a cheat day. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Same process biochemically.
What are the challenges that people go through with quitting sugar?
Well, again, the addict or the withdrawals are, again, kind of like nicotine. They're nasty. They're not fun, but
And how many days until it sets in?
yeah, it does. So we've done tons of them, and we can tell pretty much to the day. Days 1 through 5, 7, maybe 10, maybe are the most important physical ones. You're going to be irritable. You're going to be hangry. You're going to be, starving. You're going to have headaches. You're going to be lethargic. All these kind of things. These symptoms. And if you do all at the same time, flour, sugar, and caffeine, you're going to be incapacitated days 4, 5, and 6. It's just you're going to be having a real tough time. What's more important is about day 10 or 15, you're going to, it's where the emotional work comes in, where you have to, avoid the cravings. You have to do something else. You have to realize that when you're upset, you've got to learn a new set of self-soothing practices, meaning work out, walk, run, yoga. People they've outsourced their emotional management system for decades, and they've literally hacked 100,000 years of evolution, and they aren't able to. They're able to just sit on the couch and not have to go walking or running or do anything.
I want to understand. Can you define the difference, and maybe we go one at a time? What goes on in your body when you have sugar in it? The way that the average person has the average sugar intake, which I'm assuming is a lot, but I think that's the standard for all of us. I mean, people that are real addicts, I'm assuming they're on a different spectrum, and sure, we want to talk about that, but on most people I know eat sugar, whether or not they know it. I mean, it's in a lot of our foods. So
Right.
What does sugar do to our body?
Well, every reward system, every evolutionary reward system that was created to chase food and sex is affected by sugar. Your dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, oxytocin, adrenal glands, endorphins, cannabinoid receptors are all affected when you ingest sugar to certain degrees. And it creates crazy inflammation. It creates fatty liver, and because fructose, for your audience, like half the table sugar molecule is fructose and half is glucose. And so the fructose part creates fatty liver, and this is an alcoholic's disease, creates fatty liver. Again, I said it shrinks your brain. There's like 140 maladies that have been associated. They're calling Alzheimer's diabetes 3. So it goes the physical litany, the physical maladies go on and on. It's just ridiculous. But the part that's difficult, even though, say, an alcoholic is dying of cirrhosis and they still can't drink, stop. The difficult part to explain and the difficult part for people to get or grasp is the emotional salve, the emotional, the ability to tamp down emotions and not feel. And so the behavioral change has to approach that way. It has to approach as an addiction recovery process, as opposed to, like, everybody that comes to me, 85, 90% come for weight loss, and they want a diet plan and an exercise plan, right? Mm-hmm. And that's brainwashing from the diet industry, the $78 billion diet industry. And I got to slowly almost trick them, move them away, because they will take up my time for months saying, can I eat this? Can I eat that? Can I eat that? It doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with what you eat or any exercise that you do. We exercise only to, help our dopamine regenerate, our dopamine receptors regenerate. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hard shift. It's a hard, reframe is what it is for people to understand what, the question you're asking.
Well, but what does a body look like off of sugar? I mean, are you saying that if somebody gets rid of sugar in their diet, that they, most people are holding on to an extra 5 to 10 pounds and they don't even know it, even if they're slight frame, because they're just eating too much, and they have to really watch, get rid of all of it. They'll lose 5 to 10 pounds. They'll be less bloating. Their face will change. Their emotional state will change. Like, what is it that we can expect if we try this for 30 days? What will happen?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Okay. So I have a coach that's an ultra marathoner. Runs 100 miles a week, and she was running 100 miles a week when she got here. and she still carried 15 extra pounds. Okay.
Mm.
So that you can never outrun a diet like this. But I've had people put type 2 in remission. I've had hundreds of people put type 2 in remission and lose 100 pounds. Rheumatoid arthritis is a paper tiger, goes away completely, 90+% of the time. Lupus, all of these, a lot of autoimmune things. Pregnancy has gotten a few women pregnant. They'd given up trying, but they ended up getting pregnant.
Mm.
But here's the thing, this is interesting as hell. Of all of those things, right? When I do surveys, when I like say, what's the best benefit you ever got from quitting sugar? The number one benefit is that their brain came back online, that they could focus better, they could remember better, that their anxiety was lessened, right? And so, to answer the question, I believe, and I think this belies all of the studies and all of the, things that we've learned, is that this is a brain illness, and the frontal cortex is running the show here, and it's hijacked, genuinely hijacked into behavior that is not even what the person who owns the brain is getting. It's a problem. So the answer to the question is, I think for most people who are, I don't know, cognizant, it's that brain relief, but you do get all that physical relief too. And the skin too. And if I could convince women to understand that the skin clears up so much,
Mm. And not just acne, but just, you mean the coloring, the way.
Coloring, less wrinkles,
So you're saying you could change what you've already gone through. It doesn't just prevent you from aging a different way, but you can fix what has already happened by taking it out. Okay, so I'm sure people are listening and are like, okay, well, I'm not an addict.
That usually gets their attention.
Yeah, I'm not an addict, but maybe I can watch what I eat. So